Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, sort of a core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University. And in this segment, I'm going to go over a curriculum that was based in the criminal justice program, but I figured that it would be very important and interesting to record this as something as a teaching tool. So the name of this is Ethical Challenges in the Criminal Justice System. And as I narrate this, it'll be interesting for you to see some of these things that are taking place. So the use of authority, in the use of authority, there's multiple facets to consider. Integrity and trust, justice and fairness, restraint, and transparency. Those are the four things. Now, for example, by creating neighborhood programs, this fosters trust and results in the rest of the considerations. So there's an overlap between personal and professional interests. That's the three next things that I'm going to be going over is how there could be conflict of interest. So conflict of interest takes place when professional interests clash with personal interests. In other words, like for instance, familial or personal interest overlaps with ethical discourse or practice. Full disclosure should make the client's best interest. The application happens when incarcerated individuals, or the judge is trying a family member, he gives them a lighter sentence. So the personal and professional commitments to the clients. Um, so there are four areas to consider when understanding these. Their strict standard ethics, as has been laid forth by the Academy of Criminal Justice Sciences and the International Association of Chiefs of Police. This entails honesty this entails honesty and accountability. Commitment to clients and the public entails transparency to maintain public trust. Having public trust is very important for for the people that are law enforcement agents and being able to um, investigate crime in certain neighborhoods. So, professional and objectivity is to treat all individuals fairly and objectively. Finally, the duty of law and justice involves the commitment to the laws set forth by the institution. So, police practices, what are the criminal justice policies? Police practices espouses limiting deception in law enforcement. This has to do with addressing systemic racial disparities. Also, sentencing and incarcerating is important to consider. For instance, mass incarceration has increased since the 70s. Many of the laws, such as three-strike and sentencing, are being reformed. By 2022, there was 90,000 individuals in private prisons. Next, public defense entails strengthening the right to counsel. Finally, drug policy and mental health is that substance use is a public health issue. So when you combine substance use with public health and criminal justice, this makes for a very complex mishmash, which you would have to kind of disentangle and understand where the connections are, where the overlap is. So policing policy has many ethical considerations as well. So policing policy can be use of force and accountability, federal versus local approaches, and then community and social services. So there are many initiatives that are being implemented. For instance, there is a balancing officer accountability through banning no-knock references and chokeholds. And this was actually experienced by many of the individuals that were minorities all throughout the country and highly publicized. Also, there's a mandate, which is important to include police misconduct registry. mandating body worn cameras, and strengthening training in de-escalation as well. Finally, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act asked for a 2025 executive order. So with the rise of fentanyl use, fentanyl safety recommendation analyst professional development and national incidence-based reporting system. And the reporting system is something that I co-authored with Dr. Joe McMillan, Dr. Rafael Gonzalez Lagos, and Wayne Harris, who have been in law enforcement for a long time. But just going back to the fentanyl safety recommendation, before information sharing, patients were able to get opioid from multiple healthcare providers, but now with more cohesive networks, patients cannot do so. Law enforcement can have this information to potentially incarcerate individuals that engage in opioid consumption and fentanyl consumption as well. But even here, there needs to be some empathy for substance use individuals so that there's not additional areas that law enforcement goes in and escalates the matter more and starts to de-escalate things. So 3 organizations that are important to keep in mind are the Analyst Professional Development Roadmap, and that's development by Criminal Intelligence Coordinating Council, Global Justice Information Sharing Initiative in conjunction with the Bureau of Justice Assistance and U.S. Department of Homeland Security. So these are organizations, I don't want to go over it on ad nauseum, but these things are especially crucial to figure. So media reporting, there's a real big defect in media reporting. For instance, in the nightly news, there's a tendency to sensationalize the news that is occurring. For instance, media sources will talk about breaking news in a way that it's sensationalized. There's systemic bias in that oftentimes newscasters will not ask questions to people of color as to what happened about the national occurrences. Finally, similar to systemic bias, marginalized voices are suppressed. So this is the last slide here, and I wanted to go over that the focus of human rights and criminal justice ensures legal systems that adheres to international standards of dignity, fairness, and equality. So the fundamental rights of the citizens must be respected. Also, sometimes crime requires investigation in various countries like Interpol. So there's police accountability to the people. And so in a nutshell, there has to be improvements in mass incarcerations, and there have to be improvements in how media reports them. I hope this has made some sense. Here's my reference slide. Thank you for listening.